collectively, we all have different ideas, we have different passions, we have different likes and dislikes, and sometimes we forget how we acquire these. And that's through everything out here. Everything out here gets processed in the mind, and that dictates the kind of personality we have, the passions we form, the dislikes we form, relationships with people. And it's very important to keep aware of, because you need to grow, and in order to grow, you have to realize what needs growth, what doesn't, what you're happy with, what you're not, what you want to change. And as we get older, these start to form into a more concrete type of mindset where, and we notice this, us younger people and a lot of older people, where, they're very stuck in, it's kind of more, it's a problem in general, but typically with older people, you see it where, they are very stuck in their ways, and it's hard to break them out of it. And it can be like that for us younger people too, but I feel like we're more open-minded and more inviting of new ideas and new ways of thinking. And it's a great thing, but it runs very deep, because we all have, socially, is where you get this collective form of ego. There's a lot of traps that come with this, because you have your own self that you need to deal with, which is a huge mess that you need to untangle. Because ego, even personally or collectively, ego is not a bad thing. It's just something you need to, if it's toxic, change it, transcend it. It's not about, killing ego, or it's a terrible, terrible thing. It's about transcending it. And the way to start with that, like any problem, is becoming aware of it. And to give a personal example of what I mean by collective ego is more of cultures you identify with, ideas, such. For me, being vegan, that's a culture that I identify with. Music is a culture that I associate myself with, so that is also an ego of itself. And it goes really deep to even language. Language itself is a collective ego, which is, probably one of the most basic forms of cultural or of collective ego, because they're words. So much is built up of labels, when we talk, like right now. I'm in that realm of being involved with, it's one of those things where you can't escape it. Like, collective ego is one of those things where you have to accept it and transcend it, because you can't escape it. And that's why it goes to show you that ego is one of those things that you can't just get rid of, you can't just kill, but you have to transcend it and change it, because collectively you realize that even our own ego isn't something that you can't avoid it. You can't avoid the self, you can't avoid, the only way you can really avoid collective ego is if you lived in the mountains completely isolated by yourself. I wouldn't say from birth, because I feel like even if you have a form of identity of who you are, dislikes, and so on, that once you go into the mountains, after a while, if you're meditating for a long time, I could see that it would dissipate after a while, and then you just, go into a very still state of being for forever, essentially. It's a good way to open your mind up and to be aware of these emotional reactions you have to these attachments and identifications you have with this thing. Like, I think a big thing with militant veganism, that's a huge problem, and it comes from people identifying with veganism to such a degree where they shame people, even though people either are aware of it and just don't feel like making the switch yet, or whatever their case may be. Like, it doesn't make them a terrible person at all. But when you have that framework of mind that this is right and this is wrong, even though you may personally believe that, like I do think that killing animals for food is unnecessary, since we don't have to in first world society. But the fact that people do doesn't make me hate them. But, it's something that I will stand my ground on if, if you want to discuss it. It's very important to become aware of that, and an easy way is what pisses you off. What are your triggers that get you angry, or get you anxious, or make you sad, or make you jealous? Because your emotional reactions are really good indicators for what needs to change in your life. And even with things that are, making you feel really good, it's a great thing, obviously, to feel good. Feeling good is great, but feeling good is still an identification with emotions. Because emotions, when it comes to like happiness and love, because naturally we kind of gravitate towards those things. We want to feel peace, we want to feel blissful, we want to feel happy and content. And the biggest obstacle is the mind. And it makes it very difficult, because not only is it just your mind, but it's everything out here too. Because everything out here is something you identify with, for the most part. And then becoming aware of that, you start to connect the dots, and you kind of start to unravel what the mind is, and you start to see the mind as it really is, because you take a meta perspective, and you take a step back, and you observe yourself. And it's an interesting tool, because you can't really explain it, because you're just putting yourself in the third person perspective. And the reason why I feel like this is an important topic to talk about is because it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And there's so much tension right now that you can just feel it throughout the world. And a lot of it is linked to this identification with either your personal self or the collective ego. So it makes sense, but it's because it's the lack of awareness of the big picture, of the fact that everything is half truth and half not. Because even though something as basic as like social contract and our ethical system to not harm each other, not kill each other, it's so common sense to us. But at the same time, even that is fundamentally subjective. It goes so deep into reality. It goes so deep into the mind and to other people and things. And it just comes to the non-duality aspect of everything here is half real and half not, because it's all part of the whole. This is only part of the whole. So it's hard to attach yourself to something that's at its core meaningless, just to satisfy the self. Obviously, it's funny because you talk about this stuff and it comes off kind of contradictory, but it's a balance of disconnecting and just being and sitting and just breathing. There's a balance between doing that and then doing things that are making you money, that are making you happy, that are giving you experience. There's nothing wrong or right about what you're doing. But to gain the most fulfillment as being a human being, this is a path that I feel most people should test the waters on and see if it's something that they would gather information from, because I feel like we all need it right now. We're in a time where this is very important, in my opinion. So that's why I feel like talking about it. Keep that in mind, little tidbit, little something I wanted to bring up after not making videos for a while. I've been doing a lot of personal stuff, growing a lot, challenging myself, and felt right to come back and make a little video about a recent thing that I have enjoyed thinking about, and that is how we identify with everything around us. And yeah, it's a crazy trip to think about and go down and ultimately just get to a state of being that is something that we've only experienced when we were probably little kids, before our physical bodies were even here, because we're always here. We're always here. Our physical bodies are just that. They're just part of the whole. this isn't all. This is not all. There's a whole realm of things to explore that you can achieve just by sitting and doing nothing. And it's incredible. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking about it. And I'm sure I will be doing a little bit more, getting in the rhythm of this, because this is fun stuff. So, hope you guys took something from it, friends. I hope you are all having a great day today. And don't forget those nature baths and pound of breaths to be grounded in this present moment. See you later, my friends.